How are these movies good? Kung Fu Panda feels like an idea dead on arrival. The joke dies the second you say it. Well, what if a panda was a fighter? A little panda fighter, if you will. I don't know, I never fought a panda. I fought a koala, but it's not as special. But somehow, Kung Fu Panda ended up as one of the most consistently funny, beautiful, action-packed, even dramatic animated film franchises ever. I grew up hardcore with the first two movies, so I'm glad to go over them today. Thanks to Media Lover filling out a tier list with 7 billion characters on it, and making this his request. I've done a lot of these videos from suggestions based on that tier list, and this is actually one of the last. I have a Transformers video coming out on the same day as the new movie, and a video on the worst cartoons that I'm putting off as long as I possibly can, because I really don't want to watch Flippin' Jimmy. Now, this suggestion was to discuss the movies, but Kung Fu Panda is a huge series. It's got a ton of shows, specials, and video games that I kind of just felt wrong ignoring them all. So we're looking at all of it. Can any of these other things somehow be as good as this stock image of Tai Lung? No, but we can at least try to find something comparable as we look over the entire Kung Fu Panda series. Skadoosh. What can I say about this film that wasn't already said by Shitty Phillips Productions? Basically nothing, that's why I'm including the shows too. But as at the top of this video, this film literally has no right to slap as hard as it does. People forget how hit and miss DreamWorks were in the 2000s. For every Shrek, there was a Shrek 3. For every Over the Hedge, there was a Shark Tale. For every Madagascar, there was a Madagascar. I still don't know if this film was good or not. But this film was one of the first that, to kid me, really hit home. Like, yeah, most of the reason kid me liked it is because Poe makes a funny face that sits on Tai Lung. The reason adult me like this is because Poe is literally me for real. A lot of main characters in kids' movies are perfect. They're nice, they're pretty, they're skilled. They're everything you want to be but aren't. Poe stands out alongside a rare few like Shrek, where he's also a loser. But that's what makes him great. He is, to steal a phrase, not just a big fat panda, but the big fat panda. That doesn't make him bad though. While others see it as a flaw, he manages to make the most of his downsides while not changing who he is. Which is also a really good message. It's actually very subtly shown as Poe belly flops on a guy. Poe is just a likable man. I don't know anyone who dislikes this guy. Even people who don't like Jack Black, you can see that this bear is still pretty great. And hey, speaking of this, the casting is great. They're all big name celebrities, of course, but unlike a lot of DreamWorks stunt casting, it's clear they actually give their all to these performances, and it's more than just a paycheck. Heck, Dustin Hoffman even taught Jack Black some pointers for acting, unintentionally mimicking their relationship in the movie. Okay, well, Monkey very much does not need to be Jackie Chan. He really didn't bring much of the film scene. He talks like twice. Having a modern day martial arts film without the martial arts man would be a sin. Speaking of martial arts, the fight scenes. So this one has the best fights in any Western animated movie. We can all agree on that one, right? How many Western animated movies can you say are unquestionably action films? Maybe a few. Fediverse, How to Train Your Dragon, The Incredibles. Not a lot, but a few. Most have an action scene at the end, but they're not full action. Kung Fu Panda is different. Yes, it has the humor of most DreamWorks films too, but they didn't skip out on the action. Choreography for these all goes super hard, and actually perfectly portray their character's personality greatly. Poe being mostly unstable with focus, Tai Lung being constantly attacking, but always with a clear focus and intent, until the end where he just gets more desperate. The 5 are all based on real-world fighting stances, so on. From the Shorgam prison escape, where we see Tai Lung effortlessly tear through all the prison's defenses no matter what they throw at him, all without saying a word. To the fight on the bridge that gives every member of the 5 a chance in the spotlight. To Shifu versus Tai Lung, where it's shown how Shifu clearly doesn't want to fight him, despite how absolutely brutal Tai Lung is. The final fight, where you can see the lowering of tolerance Tai Lung has as Poe just dabs on him. So yeah, the action is great, but also, it's funny. Both the slapstick and the written jokes also hit really hard. The animation still holds up over 15 years later. The lighting is genuinely really striking. It's one of the most expressive 3D animated films, especially at the time, but especially notable that at the time, you simply did not do both fur and cloth at the same time. One or the other, maybe use small amounts of hair or basic, very non-stretchy clothing, and of course it must be separated, never combined. This film ignored that and had furry characters wear clothes. A nightmare to animate, but it is so good and makes these guys stand out so much. Tai Lung didn't need pants though. Character-wise, I already discussed Poe, but it's worth noting that Shifu is very much at his best in this film. I like him in the sequels, but he's kind of sidelined now that Poe is fully trained. I love his evolution from hating Poe to realizing that he has to put the good of the village above his pride. Realizing that the problem isn't Poe, it's how he's going about it. It's a really nice, honestly underrated arc. Oogway. He's Oogway, I love him. I love how they can balance him being funny while also being a wise mentor. He's basically if Iroh was a turtle, that's rad. The 5 like their moments, which is all they really need. They're fun characters what they are, and I'm glad we get more focus on them in the spin-offs. For the first film, they don't do much, and that's fine. Besides Tigris, but I will discuss for later. Tai Lung, though, while he's been ruined for me, because I can't see this render just dying and laughing, he's a fantastic villain. He's genuinely really sympathetic. Being forced to go through tons and tons of painful training, only to be denied his destiny, and then deciding to go against the world and take what's his. He's clearly ridiculously skilled, as shown by him taking out both the entire prison staff and the 5 on his own. But I like how grand he is, how much he talks himself up, and even before the fight with Poe, he still gets some good humor. And this scene that just ruined like multiple words for me. I can't hear battle or resonate the same way anymore. Honestly, this is a film that I get so sucked into that the time just blows by. It feels shorter than expected every time I watch it. I'm just so locked into the film. Great movie, great action, great characters, great story, solo bloodshot. Let's talk about the sequel. Kung Fu Panda 2 is the best DreamWorks film. I've debated on this for a while, since DreamWorks has a lot of great films. But only this one has Boss Wolf My Beloved, so get first Prince of Egypt. Everything about the first film is kicked up to the extreme. They really could have coasted on their success, but instead gave us one of the most emotional animated movies I've ever seen, and it's a sequel starring Jack Black as a big fat panda. We learn more about Poe's backstory here. After the scene where Mr. Ping boils Poe alive, find out that, shockingly, Mr. Ping isn't Poe's dad. Oh, in fact, I didn't talk about Ping last segment. He's so unbelievably funny. Pretty instantly the funniest character in the series. A lot coming from James Hong being one of the few actors who reprised his role, alongside actually having a relationship with Poe. He was the one who directly inspired him to fight Tai Lung in the first movie. And in the second, we still him trying to still show he's Poe's dad, even after he finds out that the goose is in fact not his dad. Take the Mr. Ping challenge and ping the 4th person in your Discord friend list 50 times, which will, very coincidentally, end up being me. Y'all ain't slick, I know what you're doing. This film is much sweeter than the first. From Ping, Poe, and Tiger's relationship massively improved. Even Poe's tragic backstory still has hope to it. Speaking of tragic backstory, let's finally address why I love this film so much. The Year of the Cock. Lord Shen is the best non-Disney animated movie villain. Maybe even better than most Disney villains, honestly. I've discussed him on my favorite character list. You should watch it. But he's a big, intimidating villain who shouldn't be terrifying. But I like that for most of the film, Poe doesn't even know why he should hate Shen, like Shen thinks he does. It's a very unique take on things. Him being a peacock gives tons of unique fight scenes that wouldn't be possible with a more standard animal. And it's actually genuinely really funny. The film admittedly isn't as funny as the first, taking itself much more seriously. But I think I use this to its advantage. You go in thinking it'll be super funny, but it's much more focused on a story with Shen and Poe. But since you're already off guard, the jokes hit even harder since you're not expecting them. This film is honestly perfect in my eyes, outside of, like, downplaying Shifu. It's one of my favorite movies. Kung Fu Panda 3. This is a film that was pretty universally agreed to be the weakest of the trilogy, but I saw a lot more positivity this year. Wonder why? I think the good parts of the film are really good, but the lower parts are, well, lower parts. The good? Action. Duh. Don't go into it. Character-wise, I like that Shifu has a lot more to do here, and the 5 all have their moments. I should think it's time I address Tigress. While she is a popular character, never Google her even with safe search on. I think she's overlooked majorly. While the other 5 members at least tolerated Poe, she was the only one who hates his guts and isn't afraid to say it. Mostly because she, like Tai Lung, was set up to be the chosen one. While she did eventually learn to respect him, it was right at the end, leaving a lot unknown. 2 has a relationship be a lot sweeter. She still doesn't really get Poe when she thinks of her being so closed off, but she's still extremely supportive, and even puts his safety and well-being over others. 3 has her finally accepting Poe as a chosen one, and helping him in any way she can. It's really sweet. And in the TV show, she has autism.
Bonding with a bag of almond cookies. What?
Skip it.
I do think a lot of the jokes work good, not so much for the written ones, but the physical and facial expression ones are pretty funny. Also, Master Chicken, my goat. What I'm mixed on is Kai. I met people who love this guy, people who hate him, and there's a lot of reasons for both. On the good side, Jackie Simmons, enough said. Also, I love the backstory he has, working with Oogway and the 2 actually being fairly powerful and evil warriors until Oogway turns face, while Kai stays bad. I like the more mystical aspects of him. The shows dive more deep into the magical aspects of the franchise, and they occasionally dip into chi and peace. But I love how hard this film, and Kai in particular, up the stakes with key manipulation, his zombie army, and the entire spirit world. Also his theme slaps. With that said, despite his power, he doesn't have the same presence as Shen. Everyone treats him as a joke, which makes him hard to take fully seriously. Also, I'm not the biggest fan of his design. Tai Lung being a snow leopard is unique for a series, and makes him a fun mirror to Tigress. And again, Shen is a very unique pick for a villain as a peacock. But a bull? We've had tons of bulls and bovines in this series, like Master Ox in the second film. He doesn't appear with Croc when he makes a cameo, which I guess means Ox is dead. It's fun. Kai is a good villain, but he's in a series of 2 great villains, which really hurts him. Another mixed thing is Poe's dad. Walter White does a good performance. I like the idea behind him, but the execution is a little sloppy. I like the idea of him lying low thanks to him being hit so hard by Shen, making him have a lasting impact even after he's gone. But leaves a bit too much for jerk, constantly ignoring Poe's genuine concerns about Kai. Still, I like that he comes around. Him butting heads with Ping is fun, and they're gay. It's a solid film. I quite like it. I rewatch it all the time genuinely, but it really is a step down from the first two films. Can't get worse though, right? Oh, it got so much worse! I feel so bad for this movie, man. This film basically got no promotion whatsoever. To the point where I saw several people only knew it was out because it was announced that it was coming to streaming. And honestly, it might even kill the franchise considering how mediocre its financial and critical response was. But hey, it has its fans. I wonder who isn't one of those fans?
What is happening? It's me!
Definitely don't think it's bad, but it is such a letdown from the first films. The film is Poe needing to pick a new Dragon Warrior as he ascends to a new role, but needs to team up with a thief to fight a new villain, named the Chameleon. I am so proud of her transition. I really love her design and Viola Davis's performances, but she has no real presence in the film, which at least Kai did. Kai was a looming threat. Chameleon just exists. She didn't earn the title of the strongest Kung Fu Panda villain, she freaking spawn camped! Now I should mention her backstory. She was turned down from every Kung Fu dojo for being short. Now the obvious rebuttal is about Mantis and Viper, but no, it makes sense. They're also looked down upon as shown in the spin-offs before they proved themselves. Which makes Chameleon looks even worse because all she needed to do was put a little work and effort in. But nah, magic vor stuff. Oh yeah, the other villains. I like Tai Lung actually. He's still pretty in character, but yeah, I wish he interacted with Shifu at all. Shen and Kai though, didn't need to be here. They did nothing, didn't even talk, and they bowed to Poe despite hating his guts. Now, Kai, it's fine, he respects power, that's cool. But Shen? The guy who decided on a whim to slaughter all the pandas? The guy who rejects his chance to turn face? No, he would never respect Poe. Ever. And I did hear the theory that maybe the spirit realm makes people chill, but, Kai. Actually, wait, shouldn't Kai be, like, soul destroyed dead? And Lee is in the same room as Shen, and they never interact, that's cringe. Oh, that's a good point. Ping and Lee. The reactions are really funny. The only particularly funny part of the film. And they work really well together. And they're, like, actually genuinely gay. This isn't a joke, this is canon. Okay, but if you start shelving the villains sucked, let's address the 5. Highlighting them in shows, sure. But the movie? It's just wrong. It makes the universe feel so much smaller. They appear in the credits, but you can tell it's a rush job. And the mission on why they're gone sounds more interesting than the actual film. Oh, and Zen. I don't hate her. She's fine. But she's pretty forgettable. I don't like her design. It's so generic and misses the angular, stylized look of other characters, and other wolves and foxes in the series. I don't hate Awkwafina, but I do get why people aren't big on her. That being, every character she plays is personality-wise just her. It's not that she uses her normal voice for all of them. J.K. Simmons, Keith David, Kristen Schaal, and John Goodman all use their regular voice, but they fully become their characters, and none feel too similar to each other. It's not the same with her. Honestly, why is she the one Poe picks for the next Dragon Warrior? Because she saved him one time? Wow, she realized the obviously evil sorcerer is evil. That warrants giving her the title. It should have been Mr. Beast, and it said one singular word in the film. Actually, no. It should have been Tigress. I'm not the first to say this, but we've been a great passing the torch. Fully end her arc and show the mutual respect the two have for each other. Poe in this film is still good. He's still Poe, which is great. And animation is good, especially on chameleon transformations. They look absolutely beautiful. But God, it's hard to not look at Last Wish and Bad Guys. I wonder why the animation didn't carry on here. Honestly, DreamWorks methodically shot themselves in the foot by making Last Wish. Now every film they're gonna make is compared to it. Oh, did you see the massive quality drop from Puss to Ruby? Why did they make another cash grab troll when they pushed Puss so far? And of course, why they make a film that is hard-hitting emotionally with great and genre-pushing visuals and instantly iconic characters for a sequel to a film no one cared about when they couldn't do the same for a film people actually wanted to see that evolution for. Obviously, again, DreamWorks is the master of the quality roulette, but until we get another Puss 2 level hit, they will constantly be unable to fill those shoes. The animation is great, of course, but like, it could have been better. Again, the film makes this world feel so much smaller, and it's mostly a nothing trip to get the Chameleon's hideout. I like it fine enough, but it's a little disappointing after all these years. If someone says they like it, power to you. I can see why people would like it. It's just still a bit disappointing. I say watch it once, listen to the epic cover of One More Time several times, and never think of it again. And with all the movies done, let's look at the one-off specials. Kung Fu Panda is a series you wouldn't really expect to be super far-reaching, but they have 5 specials and 3 TV shows. The first one is Secret of the Superior's 5. It's a fun look at the backstories of the 5, and well done the 2D animated style of the intro. Tigress kind of goes against the film. She and Shifu have a really closed-off, almost father and daughter dynamic. But the film makes it clear that by the time he started teaching Tigress, he already dealt with Tai Lung and is no longer so helpful. The other 4, but I don't have much to say about them, are actually really fun stories, and I have no problem except from their canon. The girl from Crane's story should have been introduced in the show or something. I really like her and Crane's dynamics. They're so cute. Oh, and I swear this comes from.
Monkey.
Holiday special is exactly what you think it is. Ping is sad Po moved on to Kung Fu. Po has to make a feast, but eventually realizes he needs to spend time with his dad. It's a cute short. I like the intro's animation, and this frame, but it's nothing special. Secrets of the Masters is probably my favorite of these. It's about Po telling a story of the three masters from the second movie, Ox, Croc, and Rhino, and how they met and became true masters. It's almost exclusively in that 2D style that looks great. I like the dynamic between the three, and seeing Oogway be a little shady makes sense considering what we'll learn in later in 3. The only real problem with it is that the big fake-out death of Oogway, where they hold him this shot and there's sad music, and I really want you to forget that he's in the first movie. Oh, and the villains are the Wu sisters. The most important characters that you've never heard of. These guys appear in none of the movies, but are very consistent in the games, even getting their own Flash game. Never got why they were so hardcore pushed without actually, being pushed. But hey, good to see them. Good short. Secret of the Scroll has Tai Lung very prominent on the poster. Tai Lung does not appear in this short. This short is mostly about Po retelling a story, Wily's all just Po yapping, about how he got into Kung Fu, which connects to how the Five became the Five. It's cute. Of course, it counters Tigress' story in the first film like usual. I'm used to it by now. Animation is great as always. Always love more focus on the Five, especially Tigress, and especially the Five together as a group. And young Po has his haircut. I'm so glad this is obscure. It just radiates cringy fanbase energy. And the final one is Panda Paws. This is by far the shortest here, at only around 3 minutes, and it's simply about Mei Mei performing her ribbon dance and being outstaged by Baby Panda. Will be the only thing here without Po at all. I am not watching Po right now. I realize that joke doesn't really work spoken out loud. Anyways, it's cute but not much to add. And that leads us to the 3 full TV shows. The first one is the Nickelodeon show, Legends of Awesomeness. This is the second of Nick's called out his DreamWorks after Penguins on Madagascar. And it's mixed. The big problem is just simply it's lower budget. Unlike Disney that can toss a couple $1 million at any project and get most or all of the cast from the movies, these shows are far cheaper. So outside of James Hong, Lucy Liu, for one episode of Vanilla Doug Kim, none of the original actors return. Listen, most replacement actors do a good job. A great job even. Kerry Walgreen and Fred Tassicor are great at playing more comedic and loose versions of these characters. James C., Mexico, and Alistair Hasman Hotel are all great at bringing more life to these kind of bit players. And so many people thought Mick Winger's Po is actually Jack Black, which is impressive. But still, you can tell that as good as the impressions are, they're still impressions. And you can tell these aren't the real characters. You don't need to hear them though to know that, because look at these guys. Yeah, while the first one was revolutionary for having fur and clothing animation together, on a smaller budget, every character is a smooth little baby. It's not very appealing, especially considering the very flat look overall. It's super weightless. It's not necessarily bad. It's just super bland and does not grab me at all. With that said, I really like the show. The big thing I love about it is how it overall adds to the lore of the series. We meet so many new villains. While some are pretty disconnected from the overall story, we also meet villains who were shunned by the Jade Palace for focusing more on technology rather than pure martial arts, which feels super discriminatory. It's basically saying you can't work somewhere because you have a wheelchair. An ancient demon sealed away by Oogway, a rhino guard who lost his job when Po beat Tai Lung, and a member of the original Furious Five who went bad. Said member is a trickster owl mentor voiced by Wendy Malick. This hits differently now. There's all these crack bandits who are complete failures, a crime boss who for some reason sounds like Christopher Walken, and a goldfish who is a mass slaver. This is real. Plus, of course, tons of new abilities that can instantly end fights. We don't need to animate a fight sequence. The best theme song ever. And this scene.
I skadooshed your uncle!
Also, it's great to see the Five finally get more focus, but off around the edges. Still a show I do quite enjoy, and would recommend it to those who like the films. Call Disney came out on Amazon Prime in 2018. I was put off by it due to the lack of the Five and Shifu. The only old characters here are Po, Ping, a few pandas from the third movie, and Oogway. Mostly focusing on 4 new pandas put into the train. This actually adds a lot to the world's lore, introducing these new characters, the 4 constellations, 2 of whom are just palace tops with Tai Lung and Oogway. Finally, Chi inside 4 panda children, one of whom is voiced by Haley Shu, which, Debbie doesn't punch me in the face every time she talks.
Anywho, we know we're not perfect at this whole world-saving thing.
I really like Po in this. He was really jerkish in Legend of Awesomeness, but this is much more in line with the personality from the films, where he's naive, but still very good-hearted. It might be because it's actually serialized, like more episodic last show. Season 1 is about the 4 Masters of the Constellations, Jin Dao, attempting to reclaim his power and take over China. With Season 2 focusing on the White Bone Demon, a creature of Chinese mythology that drains the souls of its victims. The lack of the Five and Shifu is felt, but I shockingly enjoyed this a lot. Nostalgia holds a grasp on me, so I prefer Legend of Awesomeness, but I do gently recommend the show. Also, for my Versus fans in the audience, this makes Po multiversal in strength. You're welcome. Then that leads us to the most recent Kung Fu Panda cartoon, 2022's Dragon Knight. This is a Netflix show. Really aired when DreamWorks' agreement with Netflix started ending, and all of their shows left the service. The biggest selling point on this show is that somehow they actually got Jack Black to reprise Poe. I genuinely have no idea how they did this. Powerpuff Girls couldn't afford them in 2004 for a guest appearance. You would think that now he's even bigger, it would be impossible to get him on a smaller budget, especially as the main character. The first season is rough, man. The new character, the Wandering Blade, constantly talks down to Poe, coming off as really condescending, but without much to like about her. The designs of the new characters really don't fit the designs of the previous shows and films. Kind of like Zen. Especially sad because even less film characters appear. Now just Poe and Mr. Ping. With that said, Season 2 was a massive step up. They took the Team Rocket knockout villains to actually pretty fun and compelling characters. I really like how, while Paul's Destiny was about expanding the lore, this is about expanding the world, going to places outside the village, even outside of China. I really like the villain of Season 2 as well. This silly ruler princess who just wants to commit murder for funsies. Even if, her voice, it kind of throws me off a bit.
Seriously? After all I've done for you people?
I'm just gonna throw this up here and move on. So yeah, rocky start, but I do like this at the end of things. Weakest of the show is, but I do like it. Now there's more to the series, of course. This is a ride I never went on, though the pre-show is Poe interacting with the DreamWorks characters is super cute. Also, the games. There's like 20 of them. If you know one, it's definitely Showdown of Legendary Legends, the Smash clone. I never played it, but it's really funny that there's 2 DreamWorks Smash clones. I don't know what's funnier, that Baby Poe is universally seen as better than Adult Poe, or that Master Croc is a brawl Meta Knight levels are broken. The one game I have played though is the DS game Legendary Warrior. It's actually a pretty solid game, a 3D beat 'em up, where you as Poe or Tigress run across levels and beat up people, including the wolves that howl when they die. Always thought that was funny. What isn't fun is when you save the other 5 members, and they appear on the windscreen, but you can't actually play as them. The bosses are weird. It took me a full month to beat the first one, the Wu sisters. Yes, this was their first appearance. Then only like 3 days to beat the second boss, Great General Ox. I like to think Kai was inspired by him. And then the final boss is Tai Lung, who just survived the wishy finger hurled somehow. And yeah, I beat him first try. So what's special about this game? Objectively nothing. Though it is pretty good for a licensed game of this era. What's special to me is that the first game I ever owned. Maybe. I got it at the same time as Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue, but I think I'll open up this first. If it wasn't for Kung Fu Panda DS, I would have never become a gamer. We're going back in time to Christmas 2008 to take Kung Fu Panda DS off the menu. Kung Fu Panda is a very up and down series. It's got some of the best films and animations, and some of these skadoosh your uncle. I hope the potential upcoming films are great too, though I don't know how likely that'll be after 4. But there's one thing I can say with complete and utter certainty. Cock.
The year of the cock begins now. How many times do I have to kill the same stinking panda?